When I was like 8 years old, I went on a Florida trip with my family. We like rented a house for the week and I think we went to Disney. But for some reason we stopped at a Target. And my parents, or it might have been my grandparents, they bought me this teal Pudge the Penguin SKELANIMALS plush. And this was the first time in my life I'd ever owned something remotely dark or gothic maybe, and because of this, my Pudge the Penguin plush has been a prized possession of mine. And when I look at it, I feel anchored to the young confetti that fantasized about how cool and dark or gothic older confetti was going to be. So today I'm going to be doing a deep dive of SKELANIMALS, an autopsy, if you will, because they're dead. And the franchise is dead. Look how cute he is when he sits. He's so good at sitting. SKELANIMALS is mostly remembered as a toy line sold in the US. Maybe outside of it, I don't know. I can't really find an eBay listing outside of the States. SKELANIMALS themselves were these cutesy little skeleton animals with a little heart in red on their chest. Around 2012, it seems like they were promoting it as a clothing line as well. In fact, one of their videos promoting SKELANIMALS at Warped Tour, they described themselves as the hottest clothing line.
Of course, now SKELANIMALS clothing, one of the hottest clothing lines out there. Actually, not one of the hottest one.
And so I assume it had some emo appeal at some point. But I think today, if people collect SKELANIMALS, they're collecting the plush. I know Hot Topic did a rerun recently where they had SKELANIMALS clothing and accessories, but I didn't partake. But I did get my Diego bat plush from that era. Oh my god, it's so dark you can't even see. SKELANIMALS was designed originally by Mitchell Bernal, ? He graduated from Art Center in 1989. His very untouched LinkedIn page suggests that he went to do layout and visual development, which is concept art, if you don't know, at Walt Disney Feature Animation, which is freaking crazy. And then in 2005, it looks like he began his SKELANIMALS venture, but then bailed in 2011 to work at Bubble Pets. That's listed as his current situation, but I think he's probably moved on since then and just like doesn't care about his LinkedIn anymore. I think Mitchell is at least proud of his work on SKELANIMALS because all of his social media bios say SKELANIMALS creator. Mitchell describes himself as an artistic nomad and his only active social media is his Instagram, which features mostly digital caricatures of celebrities in this very chic metropolitan style. That's actually all you're gonna find if you scroll like all the way back in his Instagram. Like it's mostly caricatures. He has a book for sale about his journey with caricatures, so I think it's like his main public grind. There's like 2 posts suggesting he dabbles in toy design still. For all I know, he is doing toy design or like some other industry work regularly, but he's just under a lot of NDAs. It's hard to assess what his life looks like right now, but I actually think that's a great way to live as an illustrator. SKELANIMALS were sold freaking everywhere. Target, Toys R Us, and Hot Topic, obviously. There's a recorded 38 SKELANIMALS characters. Thank you, you/emo person69 on Reddit for this chart. But SKELANIMALS had a main lineup and there was tiers. There was a tier list with these. And the higher the tier, the more likely the SKELANIMAL was to have a plush available or be featured on merch. My assessment of the tier list is this. Kit the cat and Jack the rabbit, they were on top. They were king. Marcy the monkey, Dax the dog, and Diego the bat were second tier, but I think since Hot Topic's re-release, Diego the Bat is like first tier again. And following them was Timmy the tarantula, Chunky the panda, and Max the bulldog. And on the very bottom was Oliver the owl and Pudge the penguin. This tier list also represents how likely the SKELANIMAL was to get a plush when it was relicensed and the brand got another wave. So like every successive Hot Topic run of SKELANIMALS, we saw less and less of the lower tiers. Not to say there weren't other SKELANIMALs that got plushes, but like we never saw Chip the frog again, or Thomas the hippo. Got my arm warmers, they're like glow in the dark. Isn't that cool? Isn't that awesome? SKELANIMALS toys were originally manufactured, I think, by Toynami. If you look at the butt tags on the toys from around 2007, 2008, they all say Toynami. And then around 2009, the paper tags on the merch say Target, but sometimes Jax was cited as the manufacturer. I assume Target was manufacturing SKELANIMALs themselves that year, specifically for their Halloween campaign. Target's Halloween campaign with SKELANIMALs was honestly the most memorable time in the brand's history. They had this TV commercial for the ad, and it featured the SKELANIMALs in this fresh 3D animated style, which I will get back to. And they had an original song made for it by a Christian rock band called Family Force 5. The song was called Keep the Party Alive. I actually don't have concrete evidence that this commercial like animation was ever put on television. Like it could have just been for YouTube. I couldn't find any like TV edit version, but the comments of the video occasionally refer to it as a commercial, like, oh, I remember this from my childhood, I remember seeing this as a commercial. I assume a shorter version of the original video was what actually got aired, but the full video which is 2.5 minutes, is available on YouTube, the synopsis of which I will give now. The Skelanimals are all napping in a graveyard. Presumably, the graves are their beds, and they wake up, and the sun is a jack-o'-lantern, which I assume is meant to convey that it's Halloween. So they start looking for all the candy that they can find, but they don't find much. Chunky, the panda, gets the idea to plant the candy at the base of a magical tree, and the tree, like, mysteriously replicates all of the candy until the animals have like a ton. So the song I mentioned earlier starts to fade in as all of the Skelanimals begin a march to a spooky mansion, and they're all in costume, and some of the costumes are actually replicated in their plush counterparts, which they were selling at Target during this campaign. And they knock on the door, and the Target dog answers, and he sees them all with their full candy baskets, and then the rest of the video is a dance party to keep the party alive. But then I noticed the manufacturer Fiesta was on all of the tags, the butt tags and the paper tags, from 2010 to 2011. But whenever Fiesta's branding is present, I noticed I can't find Toynami anywhere on the butt tag or the paper one. So I don't know if like any major company owned Skelanimals as an IP at this point. I just don't have enough tags to look at and determine this. But I do notice that the Fiesta Skelanimals have a different sort of material that kind of reminds me of the stuffed animals you might get in a claw machine or like at a carnival. But then I noticed on the Skelanimals YouTube channel, there's a video for 2012 Comic-Con, and we see that Skelanimals is being promoted at the Toynami booth. And Toynami's Skelanimals section on their super abandoned website has this image with copyright 2014 on the bottom. So I assume by 2012, Toynami reacquired Skelanimals, and then after 2014, they stopped owning Skelanimals. When Hot Topic started selling them again, Hasbro was then making all the toys, like all of the paper tags say Hasbro, and today, Hasbro owns Skelanimals.com, so I think they're the ones licensing it to other parties. But it seems like Skelanimals for a long time was having its licensing rights shared between a lot of different places. No retailer had like exclusive rights, it seems like, but there were Target and Toys R Us exclusive Skelanimals products. But now Hasbro seems to like own Skelanimals like as their IP. So now when Skelanimals is being sold at Hot Topic, I assume it's being licensed to them to manufacture stuff. Keep the party alive. Skelanimals' online presence is a very interesting thing to study. The early YouTube channel was like rudimentary flash animations that weren't even like 15 seconds long. These animations felt more like bumpers to play on a screen when they were promoting these toys at like licensing fairs or whatever. They had sort of an emo marketing strategy back in the day, like they worked with emo bands or scene, I don't know. They were promoting themselves at Warped Tour, but their emo band videos don't even have like 5,000 views, so it seems like they gave up on this idea really fast. And then they had a few Comic-Con videos, which I already touched on. And then a studio called Eggfinity produced this one-off video of Max the Bulldog skateboarding to Fall Out Boy's Dance Dance, and it's in this 3D style. This video was posted in 2012, but if you look at the copyright line on the bottom, it says 2009. So I actually think that this 3D video was a test animation for the Target commercial that was released later. I wasn't sure if it was the same studio, because if you try to find Eggfinity, like there's no immediate evidence of their existence like at all. And if you try to search up like Skelanimals animation studio, it just brings up people associated with another Skelanimals animation from 2012. Except if you scroll down in the comments of the Target commercial video on YouTube, there is one comment from a channel called Eggfinity, and it does appear to be real. Like if you go to the channel, there's like 3D assets and videos like happening on there, and that comment claims credit for the animation, and it credits project lead Hendra Kusuma and producers Nixon Fong and Elizabeth Wong. And that comment has 0 likes. Like I wouldn't have seen it unless I just thought to scroll for a while. Like it took me maybe 4 to 5 minutes to find that comment. So my prediction was right. Like Eggfinity, they did do that commercial. I was spot on. But anyway, around 2015 when Hot Topic started selling Skelanimals for the second wave, Skelanimals revamped their online content with new animations, and they're beautiful and so fun. They were still keeping true to their emo roots with these like rock sound effects and background music. Basically every sound effect is accented by like an electric guitar or a bass. There's this unsettling episode where the unicorn character is plugged and she can't fart, so she literally inflates until she like blows up and explodes. And that's funny. Skelanimals don't usually die, they just become a pile of their sentient bones. That happens in like every episode. Like the Skelanimal dies, and then it's just like their bones in a pile like blinking. The only true death we see is when Kit the cat brutally kills every Skelanimal that's in the room. to like make this magic potion, and every time a skelanimal is thrown into the cauldron, we see a skull-shaped cloud burst from the cauldron, and when their bones pop out, they are not blinking. So that is a true skelanimal's death. These animations were produced by Birdo, a Brazilian animation studio that does commercial and children's animation. They described Skelanimals as a global licensing success from E1. They're referring to Entertainment One, which is a Canadian entertainment company that I think was acquired by Lionsgate. And before I continue, I do just want to say that as of November 2025, the Skelanimals wiki consists of like only a list of every single Skelanimals character with like their character description and which media they appeared in. So all of the research from this video came from like an actual serious literal deep dive into all of the Skelanimals content out there. None of this info I just gave for the most part is archived or indexed anywhere on like any immediate front for Skelanimals. We don't even have like an official Skelanimals website or any active social media for them anymore. Today if you go to skelanimals.com, it just goes to Hasbro's website, like their front page. But theskelanimals.com tends to show up in Google search results as like their official page. But when you visit it, the branding seems off. Like the design of the site is crazy, unprofessional. It's like obviously a template. And I think what's happening here is that nobody associated with Skelanimals actually owns the site. Someone owns theskelanimals.com and is making money through the Amazon affiliate links on the site, which you'll notice are like the only ways available to buy anything. The website says copyright Skelanimals, but if you pay attention, you can see that they're phrasing things in a way where they're like technically not claiming credit. And on the bottom, they have fine print about being in the Amazon affiliate program. And all of the clothing reviews and the descriptions are really stilted. And the FAQ seems like it was put through a translator. If this is really an official site, then it's almost worse that I, as a consumer, was not able to assess that. But I do think that this is just some scammers making a buck off of these affiliate links. I don't know if what they're doing is technically illegal, but yeah. Skelanimals Instagram @Skelanimals_ is abandoned. Their Facebook has not been touched since 2016, and most of the posts are like blank or deleted. I wouldn't say that Skelanimals, the IP, is abandoned, but I do think that their social media presence is not cared about at all, literally by anyone like Hasbro or whatever party is meant to be responsible. And I find this really interesting because from my assessment, once Skelanimals reached Hot Topic, it was time to revamp their online presence, and they didn't. Plush consumption by adults is higher and more normalized than it's ever been. We're not in 2020 territory anymore, but like the road has been paved. Normies are like comfortable with this, like they're fine. And the emo sort of appeal of Skelanimals, I think, is the same type of emo that's had a resurgence in recent years. People are really nostalgic for this time, and I feel like Hasbro just kind of left it to Hot Topic to do all of the marketing. So the last wave of Skelanimals from Hot Topic just didn't really take off. Like I think they're still selling a couple of Skelanimals t-shirts, but that's it. The little hoodies and the backpacks are gone, and they barely sold any plush. Like it was mostly clothes. And honestly, I think Hot Topic could have leaned into the plush more, since all they seem to want to do these days is peddle plush slop from every geek franchise on earth. Anyway, before I posted this video, I made sure to buy up a bunch of the cheap Skelanimals listings online in case this video blew up and inadvertently drove up the demand and prices for Skelanimals. So if this video does well, have fun eating my scraps. If you have any additional Skelanimals information or like something you might know, like corrections to anything I've said in this video, please let me know in the comments, but be like really mean about it. Like call me a fake fan and like a poser, and like tell me that I only like Skelanimals for like attention. Like do that if you tell me anything. Okay, bye!